to.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Capes Cast podcast. I'm Jeremy,
I'm Ryan.
and this week we're gonna double down, and we're gonna do last week, like a book from last week, and then Immortal Thor number 10 from the week before. So we're just gonna start with Immortal Thor.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
I'm not sure we haven't decided on what book we're gonna talk about after this, so I think we're just gonna do it on the fly this time.
Yeah, that sounds
Um, but yeah, Immortal Thor number 10. It it's a pretty straightforward issue because it's just the climax of the whole Roxanne
right.
and like uh Roxanne Thor and all that stuff, like the last few issues that's been playing out.
Right.
Um yeah, I've read it a couple times already,
Hmm.
and it's just the fight mostly, and this is what I was hoping it was gonna be. I was really hoping that we weren't just gonna like get this one shot of Roxanne Thor and then we'd be done with it. I was hoping we'd get to see them fight, like both
Right.
Thors, like face off. And they do. Um it's a pretty it's just Thor versus Thor, hammer versus hammer. These two beating on each other.
Yeah, I think you pretty much called it too. You were like, I think the rocks on Thor is going to come to life. And
Yeah. And he did. So
yeah,
I'm really happy about that because other than them doing this, I don't know he would have, because based on the cover, I figured it would have been like another fight with Scourge, Amora, and Dario. But
yeah.
this time, maybe he like comes out of the spell
I just don't
wiser.
think they wanted to like spoil it in the cover, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, because there's some stuff does happen with them at the end of this issue.
Right.
So um it's just Thor and Roxanne Thor like just duking it out. And what's interesting is I wasn't sure if it was just like a made up, like it was an illusion, this Roxanne Thor, or if it was somebody that Amora was casting a spell on
Okay, yeah.
before this. And I didn't have any guesses. Like it could have literally been just a civilian off the side of the street, it could have been a lower down employee from Roxxon. And I had no guesses. But it's revealed that this Roxxon Thor is the Keep. So the Keep is a character that was introduced in Matt Fraction's Mighty Thor.
Okay.
And if I recall correctly, it's the body of Donald Blake that Amora has like reanimated and imbued with like Asgardian magic.
All right.
Because what had happened was is Blake comes back and he misses his connection with Thor, and he wants to like basically get that godhood. Like he wants to have that godhood again. Like have those powers and have that ability because he's like jealous of Thor.
Right.
So if I remember right, they give him a golden apple of Idun, and they end up cutting his head off.
Oh,
So yeah, and then they put like there are these like nightmare like dream monsters in this, and like that show up around the same time in this at this point in Fractions run,
okay.
and his head is like still alive with Asgardian magic, and Amora has it like locked away in a dungeon,
Okay.
and it's like being fed these dreams. Like there are these dream monsters that are like just forever feeding on his head.
Okay.
Um, so then, but the body left behind was used to make the keep, and it was like because Scourge was gone, and it was like she needed somebody to like, she needed an executioner,
Right.
so she made the keep instead, and we haven't seen the keep. I'm pretty sure since that run. I don't think we've seen him since then.
Oh, dang.
Um,
Okay.
so it's a cool throwback, and this isn't the first time that Ewing has referenced Fractions run, because in issue 2, the Odin with the World Tree origin right there that we see at the beginning of that issue,
Yeah.
it's the same origin that Fraction has for Odin
Okay.
with the World Tree. Like it's
That's
like
pretty
almost
cool.
like beat for beat. Yeah.
So
So
it's not just like deep, deep cuts in the lore. It's like he's even doing some references to recent Thor
yeah,
stuff. More
yeah. So
recent.
and he's he's pretty much like picking and choosing the things that he wants to use from any era of Thor. Like he's referenced a bunch of old like Silver Age stuff already.
Yeah,
You know, he's been referencing a bunch of modern stuff. So he knows his stuff, man.
that's pretty cool.
So it's when I was reading Immortal Hulk, I remember thinking like I feel like if I read like a couple more runs of Hulk, I would probably have a better understanding of some of those things. But prior to reading Immortal, I think I had only ever read like Planet Hulk, World War Hulk.
Yeah,
I
like
read
the Great Pack
like
stuff.
yeah. I just like I read like a lot of the Great Pack stuff.
For
Um
me, mine was like the Great Pack and like Peter David. Like those were
yeah,
pretty.
and right, and I read Future Imperfect, so I've read like the Maestro, like a little bit of the Maestro stuff. I've read like I mean, you know me, I'm like the worst case of like pick a random issue and read it, or like
Yeah,
chronic start a series and never finish it. So like I did that with Peter David. So I've read a handful of issues from that, but like he pulls from so many different like threads in
right.
that, and he's doing the same thing with this. It's crazy, man. The dude
Yeah,
just
it's
knows it
pretty
all.
cool because like with Immortal Hulk, he kind of brought it back to its roots with like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, turned into
Mhm.
werewolf at night type thing. But in this, he's going back to like the Silver Age and Immortal Thor a little bit,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it just kind of just shows like how creative he could be with such a long and sprawling history.
It's yeah, exactly. And like it's rare to see, I think, in comics today because a lot of it is just like, let me tell my original idea and just let me be done with it, you know?
Right. Let's not reference anything. It's just original idea, new villain, new.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but like it's nice to see a creator like Ewing do that, but also have so many like references and Easter eggs and things for like long-term Thor fans or like even Hulk fans when he was doing Hulk for
Right.
them to appreciate. It just makes this I think it makes the series that much better, you know,
I
when
agree.
it comes from a place of like one, knowledge on the character, and two, like an actual like you actually you like them and you want to write them and you want to characterize them well.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean like it's the and then like it's funny because I don't I don't really know how to feel about the art in this issue
Right.
because
It reminds me like the ink is very Diodato-ish. The ink,
yes,
the heavy inks.
yeah,
Um,
but like the faces, some of the faces like really throw me off.
yeah, I get
Like
I know what you mean.
like both Thors, I don't think that their faces fit the like what they're attached to
Yeah,
because they just look odd. Like Amora, I think Amora looks fine. Like she looks pretty good most pages. I mean, there are a few panels that I don't think are the best, but the the big action shots I think are pretty good. Like the one where it's like Thor zapping the keep like in
yeah,
the air and it's like most of that panel and he's like Amora help me. Um I think that's a good page. I really like that page.
yeah.
But there are so many like panels in this that I'm just like
Yeah,
yeah.
like there's this like weird face of his where
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what the hell is that? Like,
Yeah, it almost has that like I don't even know how to describe it because I can't compare it to like Greg Land because it doesn't really look like his
it's
face enough.
almost like a very off-looking Gary Frank, or
Mm.
you know what I mean? Or like a in the middle between like
It's almost
or
like if you
Doug
let
Mankey, like
Brian Hitch draw
yeah,
faces for Gary Frank.
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Or like a really bad imitation of like the way Doug Mankey kind of does
Yeah, good.
sometimes.
No, that's a good call. And this is not to like rip on the artist because I
I
think there
like
are
it.
quality pages in this, and I think it's what gets me the most is that it's not for what we've had for like the most for all of the series so far. It's
Yeah,
just such a drastic change. It doesn't really fit.
right. I mean, to go from Kokolo to Greg Land to this, it's
Well,
like,
right. I mean, and we even had the change with Ibram Roberson, and I thought that was a perfectly fine change. Like
yeah,
8 and 9 were really good. I
yeah,
thought they were great. I had no issues with the art in that. So like, I mean, I guess now's the time to say like Kokolo is off of Thor.
Is he really for good
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, I mean for right now he's doing Wolverine in August
Oh
with
man.
the Med. So 12 is his last issue, and I can't remember their name. It's the artist that's been doing Captain Marvel.
Okay, I don't know who that is. I haven't been
Hold
following
on.
that at all.
Hold on. I It's like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember.
Trying to think, Captain Marvel.
Uh, that's not what I thought it was. Maybe it was somebody else. Let's see. Jan Bazaldua. I don't know how you pronounce her name, but anyway, she did like the first 6, maybe 7 issues, 5 issues. So she did like the opening arc of the Captain Marvel run
Okay,
that is like currently happening.
right.
And it's her art isn't bad. It's serviceable. I just don't know if it's going to be a good fit for Thor. I don't know yet.
Because
I haven't seen
Kokolo
any
just fits so
pages.
perfect, man. Like
Dude,
it,
I know. I'm like pissed, man.
like
I'm
'cause
so
that,
mad
that
about it.
first arc, just like it all together, just looks beautiful. You
Yeah,
know,
it just sets the tone for the entire my my hope would be with them being like with them doing the big like 25 issue and us like with what we know, there's a big costume change. Alex Ross is designing it.
right,
Supposed to be a big moment in the series. My hope would be he comes back for that
right.
and he does that arc. Because if not, what the hell is Marvel doing,
Kind
bro?
of like a Bruno Redondo situation, right? Like a pop in every now and then and
It,
do the
it
most important arcs and
yeah, and I don't want to like spend too much time talking about it because it's just like beating a dead horse.
yeah,
But like, how many times do we have to do this? You know what I mean? Before Marvel realized like, hey, people like it when there is one consistent artist on a book.
right.
So like,
And even then, what was it? Bennett, he stayed mostly all on that Immortal Hulk run, right?
yeah,
It was
yeah,
all Bennett.
yeah. Like, and I'm a big art guy. I'm a big art guy. So like, not that this affects the quality of the story being told because the story is still really top notch.
Yeah,
But like, I can't help but feel like it only detriments the series to have this rotating cast, especially after it got all this hype. You know, it has the immortal tag on it. Like it has all of these things going for it. And one of those things should have been one consistent artist with like somebody like Eva Roberson. He would have been a perfect person to rotate in and out when Kokolo needed a break.
right,
Or if you needed him to do filler issues, if you needed him to do that, he would have been the perfect person because you still have Matt Wilson doing the colors and it looks pretty good.
yeah,
So it just doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
I agree.
I'm just venting because it's stupid, but
Yeah,
whatever. Um, Interesting enough, while the fight is happening, Amora and Scourge kind of reveal their plan with why they have teamed up with Agger. And going into this arc, I wasn't really sure what like her scheme was going to be other than they're trying to stop Thor so that he doesn't die because of the vision that Scourge had, you know? But she clearly has a greater plan because in like right as the fight's about to finish, she gives she lets Scourge give Dario the axe, like literally gives him the axe,
right,
fires his ass right there, kills him. And then she like does a quick little magics it up real quick and turns into Astrid Mora, the new vice president in of Roxxon.
oh,
So
okay,
and because she has the tell fire, like the magical fire, um, she can kind of manipulate people's memories, their minds a little bit, and make it so that it was like almost like a really organic transition from Agger to her,
right.
conveniently enough. So before we get to the big reveal at the end of this issue, halfway through their fight, keep is getting pressed pretty hard by Thor. and he asks for Amora's help, and Amora works some more magic, and she binds him to the actual, like, to the story that, like, the narrative that they've told, and to the book that they're using to tell this Roxanne Thor story. She binds him to it, like, and makes him the focal point. So his form is stuck as Thor. Like, he's
Right.
stuck as Thor now. He will not change back to the keep. So Thor takes the fight to the streets with Roxanne Thor. And people are recording it. Roxanne Thor, or the keep, is getting pretty, like, desperate. And then Thor finally gets the advantage, and he wins the fight.
Right. He breaks the hammer with his hammer, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, just literally just zapped the hell out of him with some lightning. He's like, yeah, he says, "Come the storm, come with all, and I feel full fury in the full measure of my power. For Thor Allfather gives you full permission to burn this pretender away." So he's like going for the kill, you
Yeah.
know. But it's a classic case of, like, he's fought the keep before, so he thought he would be stronger, you know.
Right.
So, and he's expecting him to turn back into the keep and, like, show everybody that's just an Asgardian monster, but it's not happening. So then he's like, he's in his thoughts, he still feels like sluggish. His mind isn't what it should be. His thoughts aren't what they should be. And so he's trying to get Tormod back.
Right.
And he calls Tormod, and it just zips out of the back of Dario Agger, and all of the people in his office are like, what the hell just happened? And when Thor gets hold of the hammer, it's covered in blood.
Right. So now the people think he's a killer because he killed the other Thor, and now he's pulling an axe that has a bunch of blood on it.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I'm sure it'll be one of those, like, oh, Thor's being framed for a double murder of
Right.
the keep, or of Thor and of Agger.
Now, do you think Agger's actually dead, or do you think this is a
Yeah.
yeah,
Because I mean, honestly, I thought he was dead in Immortal Hulk, because he was just a melted puddle
right.
practically at that point. So I don't know. I think he is dead, but it's comics. So, and he's a pretty magical character, so I wouldn't count him out. Like, if he
Yeah, I
comes
was thinking,
back,
is this like another meta thing where, like, for the story here, he's dead, but like not.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like Amora and Scourge have some kind of grander scheme.
Yeah.
So if he is dead, I wouldn't be surprised. If he's not dead, I also wouldn't be surprised. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That makes
Like,
sense.
if he's dead for the remainder of this run and we don't see him at all in years, and then for 2030, if whoever picks up the book next, if they choose to bring Agger back, I'll be like, okay, he's not dead. You know,
Right.
like, I'm not gonna throw a fit about it unless it's like something completely dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a pretty, like I said, it's pretty straightforward issue, man. I think the next two are what I'm looking forward to the most. We're getting the tier stuff. He's gonna start. It's gonna
I,
connect back to gods.
I'm just thinking how inconsistent that second trade is going to be, like reading it compared at least to the first trade, because that first trade
Yeah,
is a
man.
beautiful book,
Because, like, what
beautiful
issues do
big
we have
book.
coming? We have an issue in the first trade. It's 1 through 5 plus the annual story,
Right.
and then in volume 2, it will be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and Roxanne Thor.
Right. And then
It's
the third
not.
trade is going to be, yeah, it's going to
It's
be,
not gonna read well. I don't. I mean, I don't want to say that, because it could, but you don't. The problem, again, you do not have, like, while Kokolo is a new artist, he made waves, man, when this book came out.
yeah.
People were like, "Oh, this art's so great! Like, it's awesome! It's perfect!" Like, he's like, for Thor fans, she jumped up the charts real quick.
Right. Well, he was the best part of Banner of War.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
I think that was the first time we all saw him really show his chops. And then now to
Yeah,
have him and then not have him, it's like I said, it's like Bruno Redondo. It's like, why can't you be on every damn book? Like,
yeah, yeah. It's like,
you know,
there's somebody like Dan Mora who can do multiple books a month and still get his stuff out on time and at the quality that he does. Nobody has any excuse, man.
I know. I know.
Like, and maybe like this probably means talking out my ass, but it's like this dude puts out work like all day, every single day, probably doesn't eat, probably doesn't sleep, just draws comics. So like if this dude can pump out that much stuff at like top tier level every single time,
Yeah,
everybody what is everybody else doing?
got
Like
me.
what's everybody else doing, man?
So you wanted to talk a little bit about free comic book day issues?
Yeah, unless there was something from last week that you want to talk
I
about.
mean, we're gonna do Fantastic Four. It was funny, it was cool, but nothing really happens in it. It's more just like a slice of life,
Well,
funny.
yeah, because now okay. I mean, I guess we can talk briefly about it because it is pretty funny. It's just them finding a job, like getting a job at a grocery store and then like really being competitive.
Yeah,
Um, it sucks because it's getting derailed by an event, bro.
I know.
Don't Blood Hunt was fine. I liked the first issue. The Doctor Strange tie-in is fine. The Avengers tie-ins will be fine. But why?
Yeah,
Why does every single book have to tie in?
I know.
Like, and maybe Ryan North is just gonna just like absolutely kill it, and it's gonna be like, well, we're just doing the same thing we've been doing, but there's vampires chasing us, and it'll probably be good. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be bad, but like, I like this shit more.
Well, it's crazy because Bloodhunt itself is like got like 49 issues, including the like with the tie-ins, like 49
Mhm.
issues. Like this is insane,
Dude,
you
and
know.
it's like and it's counting. Like there's still more.
It's almost like, they took the Night Terrors approach almost where they didn't halt everything, but it's like now for the next like 2 months, everything's gonna basically
Well,
be
this was the same thing they did with War of the Realms
okay.
because like War of the Realms when that was happening, that was rough, dude.
I
That was
bet.
rough because it was like Thor, Venom, Iron Man, 8, 9, 10, like 15 other titles were crossing over into it. And it was like for one issue or two issues or three issues or every single month for that event. Like Thor had to tie in every single month,
Right.
which understandably, whatever. But and then like I thought that was a lot. But then they started announcing War of the Realms Journey into Mystery, War of the Realms Punisher and the Kill Squad of whatever. Like War of the Realms and what this, War of the Realms Ant-Man this, War of the Realms Giant Man this. Like there were like 20 miniseries, dude.
Yeah,
I collected all that shit. Every single issue. I read every single issue of it. It was the biggest waste of time.
I bet.
So if anybody that's listening is interested in Blood Hunt, I have two recommendations for it. Read the main event if you want to just read the story. If you are interested in reading what the characters that you like are doing during the event, only pick up those issues. There is no reason for anybody to go out and pick up 50 or more issues for this event
Right.
because I feel like the only ones that will be have any importance are the Jed McKay issue, like the Jed McKay books.
Right.
And Moon Knight probably being the one that has the most influence, and most people that are reading this event are probably already reading Moon Knight.
Right. Because
You
even
know,
Avengers, like, right, didn't really feel too much. Like,
no,
yeah,
yeah, Avengers was fine. I
yeah,
thought it was a really solid issue. It's funny because I'm criticizing this event, but I'm also willing to give that book a pass because it feels so much like how like Busick's run felt when that was going on.
right.
Like, it weaved in and out of events, and it like the issues were really good. They could stand alone on their own. So like if I were to go back and read the Blunt Hunt tie-in arc for this like for this book later on, just because I liked Hercules and Captain America and Quicksilver and Hazmat and this team that they had lined up, just because I wanted to read it. It's probably going to be a pretty good read on its own.
Right.
But it's pointless. I feel like sometimes it's just like just you could just do the event, you know.
Yeah.
But
I
like some books, I'm willing to give it a pass because it is the same writer, and it would make sense for his titles to tie in.
That's my problem with like Marvel is they go in too deep with like making a long series with like for example, like they just kind of throw new books out of nowhere when they do like Blood Hunters. Should we
Yeah.
be all following that? Is that like pretty like same with like X-Men and stuff with this Fall of X thing. It's like you got like 40 titles that are all participating in it, and they don't really tell you what one to read first, next, anything like that. It's just kind of like,
Yeah, well, like, the thing is I'm if it's not like a direct like, with Fall of X at least, if it's not like an actual X-Men title, it's not part of the reading order from what I can tell, because at the end of every issue, they kinda show you the release order for each issue. But with how many X titles there end up being weeks where multiple books release at the same time.
right,
And the events, you don't know what comes first and how they line up. So,
exactly.
like, I wanna say it was the last issue of Immortal, like, lined up the same week as I think the first issue of Fall or whatever the Gill I think Rise, whatever the Gillen issue was.
Okay.
I didn't know which one to read first.
Yeah.
And, like, so I just picked I said, I'm gonna read the main one first and just see what happens." And then I went back and I read Immortal, and yeah, I probably could have read them in either order,
Right.
but it's just like, if you're gonna have, like, a reading order and when they come out, it almost makes as much sense to just put, like, an actual, like, detailed reading order in.
Yeah.
Because, like, with the Avengers tie-ins, for example, for, like, Fall of X, who the hell knows when that takes place, during all of this?
Right.
It could have taken place at the very beginning of this whole initiative, Fall of X. Like, it could have taken place in January,
Right.
all I know. But, like, we don't know because we don't have, like, much indicators other than the Stark Sentinels have come to the possible city. Okay. Now we have to protect Earth and protect the mutants. Okay.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's weird because like, isn't Iron Man such an integral part to Fall of X right now with the
Yeah.
Hellfire Gala, with everything else like that, and
Yeah.
like,
He he's been in a lot of the other X stuff. Like, he was in Fall of the House of X, the Duggan half
okay,
of this whole big two-part.
right,
So he was in that, but it was like his uh what was it? It was like his AI, like uploaded AI or something. I don't know.
okay,
So it was technically him, but not. I don't know. I everything feels so bloated, like at
yeah,
Marvel. So, like, I guess to circle back around to Fantastic Four, it's it's nice when books can literally just stand on their own and it's just by their own merits that make them good. Like, I
right,
don't need it to tie into everything. Like, and this is gonna be like a couple months,
right. So it's
like,
Marvel Night Terrors now. Like,
right. And exactly. So, like, and the other thing I think about too is like the biggest complaint I see with Fantastic Four, while it's being hailed as like this excellent series, and it is really it's excellent, it's great. But the biggest complaint I hear of it is that it's moving at a snail's pace in terms of the overarching story, which I don't disagree with. It
right.
is moving slowly, but it drip feeds you when it needs to. But each issue alone, it can stand on its own, and they're really, really good.
Yeah, this is one of those books I feel like is going to read a lot better in trade. A
Yeah.
lot better in
So,
trade.
like, and it's funny because I had this complaint with Nightwing, and that's why I dropped it. But I
Right,
feel like with Nightwing, each issue was not good enough on its own to keep me invested enough to keep reading it,
right.
to get to the end. Because we're getting into the last arc and they still haven't wrapped up Heartless. And this is gonna finally be it? Or
Yeah,
is
they're
it?
finally going to
Or is
wrap
it?
him up now. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Or is he gonna be defeated? We have no idea.
right,
So, like, that was my complaint is like I can make do with a slow moving story if each issue is good enough for me to continue to read it. But, like, for Nightwing, I didn't feel like each issue was worth it for me, so I stopped reading it.
right.
The Fantastic Four, similar thing, little bits at a time of the overarching story, but every single month, I'm loving it. It's $1
Right.
cheaper than Nightwing. The art is consistent. It's really good storytelling.
And I would agree with that, but there is a thing with this book where it's like every issue is like a month. So it's like
Yeah,
12 issues go by, and it's like in this, it's like a year went by. It's like
right, it's like in moving in real time,
yeah. Yeah.
which
So
is nice because it with the way that this run has been structured, And I feel like with it having this slow moving overarching plot of Shield kind of dipping their toes back into things again, and they're like Maria's like creeping on the Fantastic Four, keeping an eye on them.
Right.
It kind of moving at a slow pace makes sense because they're not going to be like every single day keeping an eye out for the Fantastic Four. Like we're not going to see every single issue is not going to be, well, this is what Shield's doing. They have new powers. Here's another piece of paper. They have new power combinations. Here's another piece of paper.
Right.
Like that shit's boring. That's just like rinse and repeat just so you can move the plot along, I feel.
Right.
But like it shows up when it needs to, when you don't think about it. It sets up other plot threads. Like the first thread was the 12 months of the kids being gone,
Right.
and while that was going on, you have the subplot of Shield and all that, but then you have the third subplot of the Fantastic Four having to leave New York because everybody hates them.
Right.
So there's a lot going on, but people are just like looking at it from a, well, there's just no big story being told yet. There's no big story yet. Well, there is, because the next year is now Franklin Richards wipes his memory every single year when he has his powers, and Nick Scratch is fooling around with it, and now we have to wait a year to find out what happens with that.
Right.
There is a story. It's just people have to look for it.
And I think what Ryan North really wants to focus this run on is character
Yeah,
interaction, like
right.
character studies, character interaction.
Yeah,
So
it's all
he's doing that
relationship
in
building.
between this overarching,
Yep.
where it's like I wanted this last issue where we saw Johnny and Ben, like
Yeah,
hilarious. They're great together. It's awesome to see them. It's awesome to just have a book where we see these characters just interact, where they don't need to
yeah,
be fighting, they just are working together and interacting as
right,
even if it's in a grocery store.
right.
It's
Yeah, even if it's best friends fighting over who's going to be employee of the month. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
because I don't know, like that feels like Fantastic Four to me. It just feels like everything you would imagine like your family doing, but you have powers.
right.
And you're all like ridiculously talented in some way, some form, or highly intelligent. Like there really are like America's nuclear family. It's like it's the everyday family, but you have the superpowers thrown in.
And what I'm loving about this too is it's very much literally and figuratively like down to earth. Like they're
Yeah,
all on Earth. They're not doing these wacky, crazy space adventures. These are just a
yeah,
family trying to survive on Earth. And
right, exactly.
I
It's
think
good
it
stuff, man.
works.
I hope this run goes on for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It would be a shame to see it in like in a year.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It doesn't ever like hit my number one of the week that often, but it's just a good read every
It's
single
always
time.
consistent. It's
Yeah,
always
it's
just
yeah,
consistent all the way through.
yeah.
Uh,
I've never had a complaint like a blah. This issue sucked. Like the entire time we've read it, and then we're 20 issues in. You
yeah,
know, it's good stuff.
it is, dude. It's fun.
Um, yeah, Free Comic Book Day was last weekend, two
Yeah.
weeks ago,
Oh, yeah.
2 weekends ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite issue out of the bunch?
I would have to say I really love the Ultimate Universe. Like the
Dude,
ult
that was so good, bro.
Yeah, that was really good. I've never read anything by Dennis Camp, and
Yeah.
now I'm pretty excited. So
Yeah, it was the
excited for that.
characterizations felt really solid.
Absolute Power pretty much lost me because I feel like I'm reading a chapter into the future that I haven't seen the setup for yet. So I don't know
Yeah,
what's
it was
on
I that's probably just like honestly the first like 10 pages of the first issue, or even probably the ground zero issue, to be honest with you.
But man, I read that Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man, and it was awful. I was just like, let me just see how bad this got. And oh man.
When I opened it up, I was like, man, hopefully the Ultimate Universe one will be the first story. And then I was like, no.
Oh,
I flipped
it's
through to the end.
yeah, that I just ended up
Uh
reading it just to see, and I was like, oh, this still
yeah.
still crap. Still really bad.
Um I I think my favorite was probably, yeah, either the Ultimate Universe. I mean, I would even go so far as to say, like, I don't know, man. I ended up reading the Flash Gordon and the Gotcha Man ones.
Yeah.
Those were hella good. Those were really good.
I don't think I was able to get my hands on those ones.
Johnny Quest was all right. I don't know. A lot of these throwback ones were really, really good this year.
Okay.
But and it's crazy because Mad Cave's doing like a whole shared universe for Flash Gordon. Like it's getting the Flash Gordon book by Jeremy Adams, but then it's getting like a Defenders of the Galaxy or whatever like the team up in that universe is. It's getting a series. And then Gotcha Man is by Mad Cave also, and they're doing a universe for Gotcha Man. So you're getting like the Gotcha Man book, you're getting like a one shot for each of the characters, you're getting a villain book, you're getting a team up book. Like it's legit, bro. Like they're going
That's
all
pretty
in.
cool.
It's cool. I like it. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I think the only other one that's like worth any salt, probably the Energon universe one.
Yeah. That
But
was good.
imagine my disappointment when I paid $3.99 for Energon Universe Special 2024 #1 3 days after,
Yep.
and it's the same book.
It is.
It's the same book. Every page is the same. There's not a single brand new story or anything. I felt so okay, cool. Instead of the Ryan Otley cover for Free Comic Book Day, I got a Daniel Warren Johnson Megatron versus Optimus Prime cover for the
Yeah.
same. I just bought a variant. That's all I did.
Yep.
I felt so ripped off, dude.
Which, by the way,
Whatever.
I'm buying
It's
that Dan Mora foil variant for Absolute Power, and that's
yeah,
beautiful.
that's true. Yeah, you got one too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, all right.
that one's
Yeah,
gorgeous. But
all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us rant. I feel
yep.
like we're always complaining these days.
It's
All
hard
right,
not.
we'll try to complain less next week. Peace out, dudes.
Later on, guys.